Back here at home, if you thought the investigation into anti-Semitism at colleges ended with last week's Education Committee hearing, you would be wrong. Committee Chairwoman Virginia Foxx says that the investigation is ongoing and digging deeper than just Harvard, UPenn, MIT. She joins me now. Thank you so much for being here, Congresswoman.
Sure.
Since this hearing, UPenn's president, Liz McGill, she stepped down, yet Harvard's president, Claudine Gay, she's staying put. She's got the backing of the board. What else can Congress do here to hold them accountable, these schools? And is there a push to defund or maybe strip federal funding? Would that be the next step?
Well, there are a lot of people who would like to strip federal funding, taxpayer dollars. When you say federal funding, what you're saying is money taken from taxpayers that's sent to the federal government. So we need to be clear on that. But yes, there's a push to do that. But what we're going to do is a thorough investigation of not just these three campuses, but many, many others. There are a lot of complaints about Columbia, Cornell, and others. We'll be doing a thorough investigation of them, and then we'll put out our findings and make some recommendations as to what should be done. But what's happened on these campuses is very egregious. These presidents should have spoken out against the anti-Semitism and the demonstrations that were going on. They did not. President McGill had 3 chances to do that, and she did not do it.
Congressman, we just had a student on from UPenn in the last hour. He says he feels unsafe. There was a lot of the protest. Clearly, there was some targeted attacks in terms of, threats and whatnot. But, I mean, by not squashing this at the time, it's now escalated. And where does it go from here?
Well, we know that students feel very threatened by what's been happening on these campuses. And the number one role of the president of any university or college is to keep students safe. You know, I was the president of a community college, and I knew that when I was president. I was an administrator at Appalachian State University. I knew that then. The president should be focusing on keeping all students safe, regardless of their race or religion, and they are not doing that on these campuses.
Do you feel that Claudine Gay should resign at this point? With everything that's happened, I mean, why are they protecting her?
Well, you have to ask the trustees about that, and the Board of Overseers. But I think Claudine Gay's the stories that have come out about her plagiarism need to be looked into. I suspect that nothing will be done about her for a while because there's a concern that Congress is pushing too hard on this issue. So we'll leave that up to the Board of Overseers and the Board of Trustees right now. But we will, again, have our investigation and bring out a report and try to show the American people just how deep the rot goes in these universities, because it's not just anti-Semitism. There are problems with grade inflation and other issues that we want to bring out in the public. And while I'm sorry for what happened on October 7th, obviously in Israel, these demonstrations have presented to the people and presented to us an opportunity to showcase what's wrong with the colleges and universities in our country.
You think, someone who's worked in education, as you just mentioned, to hear that the president of one of the most prestigious schools, Harvard, was caught plagiarizing, what does that say about our education system, that someone can have this type of role? Why, and they're allowing this to happen, they're keeping her in that post. Should we not have a higher standard if that's the Ivy League of America?
Yes, we should have a higher standard. And I think that we're going to quit calling Harvard the most prestigious institution in the country. Let's call it the most expensive institution. And yes, the president should be above reproach. And plagiarism is punished at Harvard. There were many students who were expelled in the last year at Harvard for plagiarism. And I think the Board of Trustees and the overseers should take a much more critical look at this and say, this is not a good thing to happen. But again, it's up to those people to deal with it. But they should have the highest standards if they're going to be considered the prestigious institution.
Completely agree with you. We've seen that they've already taken a hit financially. We'll see what happens from here. Congresswoman Virginia Foxx, thank you so much for your hard work and pressing them on this issue.
Have a blessed Christmas.
Thank you so much. You too.